While loops are similar to a for loop with increment. This type of loop, the while loop, will run until its condition is met, and this is how it looks. You start with the word while, your variable, your comparison, and then your ending condition. Inside of it would be your code, and every time that this while loop runs, your code will get executed. Where the variable here is the value that will change, and the ending condition is the maximum that the variable here can reach. Once variable meets the ending condition, then the loop will no longer run. To apply a while loop, we can write some code like so. Variable, my number is equal to 0. While my number is less than 3, we're going to write document write my number. And after that, we're going to add the increment ourselves by writing my number plus plus. Remember, plus plus means my number is equal to my number plus 1. And this example would show 0, 1, 2 because it starts at 0, plus 1 is 1, plus another 1 is 2. Looking at the code, our while loop will run until my number reaches 3. If my number never reaches 3, or we forget to put my number plus plus, then the loop will continue on forever, or until JavaScript has to stop or the browser crashes, or some sort of circumstance like that happens. With these loops, we're in charge of the increment. It's important to not ever forget these. We can, alternatively, do the opposite of this and use a greater than sign with a decrement. And what I mean by that is we have variable 10 is equal to the number 10. While 10 is greater than 0, we're going to write the number. After every time this condition is checked and the condition is not met, then we're going to document write 10 and go 10 minus minus, which will then be 9, and then 8, and then 7, etc. And here's what it shows up with: 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, etc., etc. Do while loops. We can also tell some code to run before we check the condition. Above in the while loops, JavaScript check the first condition. If the condition has not been met, then our code will be executed. In a do while loop, the code is executed no matter what, then checked if the condition is being met and decides if it should run again. These look a little different than what we're used to. As our example, we have variable I is equal to 0, just I for integer, do, and then we have our curly bracket, document write, integer, that we just conjugated, is the int number with a line break. And we ended that with another curly bracket. After that, we wrote our while condition. So we wrote while I is less than 3. And what this would produce is 0 is the int number, 1 is the integer number, 2 is the integer number. And that's all it would show up as. First thing you probably noticed was a funny looking syntax where it just says do. And then we have our while on its own line by itself, and the while ends with a semicolon. So far, none of our loops have ever ended with a semicolon, and that's just because the condition is after the actual loop. The same rule applies to a do while loop as a while loop. Do not forget your increment. Otherwise, this while loop is going to run on and on and on, and it will never stop. Now, if you haven't noticed yet that the code above is slightly more compact, well, it is. Conditions with curly brackets will be compressed a little bit more now, instead of being so spaced out. What I mean is, while num is less than 10, on a new line we would have a curly bracket, then our code another curly bracket. It's simply going to look like this. While num is less than 10, same line, opening curly bracket, code, closing curly bracket. It's not a big deal, it's not going to change our code. I just would like to let you know that this is what's going on, and in the future all of our curly brackets are going to start looking like this. It's a little bit more compact, yes, but our code will not change nonetheless.